Batman! Arkham Asylum! So, everybody has been talking about this game. There's been millions of videos for it now, swarming all of the internet for months, if not for the entire year. And a lot of people are kind of wondering, is it really going to live up to all this magnificent hype that's been built up around it, since it was supposed to be pretty much the pinnacle of all Batman games and even comic book games. And in short, yeah, it exceeded all those expectations and then some. Hell, it put all my worries pretty much to rest after I got my hands on the demo that they released just a couple weeks ago. It was awesome. One of the things that I liked most about this game was the first time that I actually got to pop it into my 360 and start playing it. Um, all that came to mind was, holy shit, this is like playing Metal Gear Solid. The first one, like, that's how I felt, was that I was playing Metal Gear all over again. Like, I was a little kid running around, sneaking up behind an enemy, choking the shit out of them, dropping them, and trying not to get caught and go on. It really fits with Batman, though. He lurks around in the shadows and everything. He's not meant to be seen. And it actually feels more rewarding whenever you get to do stuff like this. You know, in most action games, here's your machine gun, here's your grenades, here's your rocket launcher, go fucking destroy everything. That's really easy. This is Batman's running around. He's not your regular superhero. He could get shot by a bullet, and that's pretty lethal for him because he can die. Getting caught actually can mean life and death just from the nameless thugs that see you. In most cases, in any game, whenever they're around, they're fodder 90% of the time. You'll get really good and turn them into fodder no matter what, but it's just nice that you have to sneak around. You know, you have to actually use your brain, you have to look around, check out the entire place, you have to time things just right and actually think. The Joker actually starts mocking them whenever they start getting picked off, which is pretty funny. You'll be sitting up in the rafters on a gargoyle going while they're like, oh my god, I'm so fucking dead. And it never gets boring, ever. Going and setting it up so that there's an area on the floor that you know that they're going to go and walk past, watching it explode. Everybody freaks out, runs over there, except for one guy on the opposite end. You swoop down, kick him dead in his face, and just BAM! Right on the ground, hit him, up and away. Everybody starts freaking out. They run all the way over to where that guy just got taken out, and that's pretty much the game. And honestly, I could do that for hours on end, and I did do it for hours on end. Rocksteady was actually smart enough to go and enlist the voice talent of everybody from Batman the Animated Series. If you're like me and you grew up watching that show, then everything was really familiar and it seemed to actually fit because they're really good. Mark Hamill as the Joker in general is amazing. That's all there is to it. As a matter of fact, whenever you think Mark Hamill, you're like, Luke Skywalker, yeah. No, I really think of him as a Joker. I hardly even think of him as his little Star Wars counterpart. But yeah, he goes from sounding absolutely batshit insane, no pun intended there. But he goes from sounding insane to just really methodical and kind of scary. Hearing him over the loudspeaker just sit there and constantly harass you and mock the police force, everybody that was in Arkham, including all the people that are helping him. Kevin Conroy and Arlene Sorkin, who Kevin goes and voices Batman and Arlene goes and voices Harley Quinn, who, again, are part of the animated series crew, reprised their roles again without a single hiccup. It's kind of like going all the way back to 1993 and watching it all over again, except for, in 3D and you're controlling it now. The battle system in general is probably one of the finer points of the game. Usually that's a make or break situation. In this, it actually makes it really fun. You're able to go and pick up the controller as a complete and utter fucking noob to action games in general and be able to get a handle of it within a couple seconds. No way are you going to master it, but you'll definitely be able to pick it up and kick somebody's ass. They call it the free flow combat system. To me, it reminds me of Assassin's Creed, which isn't a bad thing. It's really cool just because you can be surrounded by like 10, 13 guys, and you can just pummel the shit out of them in a really fluid manner. You just keep on mashing the attack button to do the combos, and as soon as somebody comes up near you, they'll have something kind of come up above their head that looks like little lightning bolts. That means that they're about to hit you, and all you do is tap the counter button, and then you go and hit them. You start building up multipliers for your combos, which allow you to do even better moves. And in challenge maps, that pretty much just earns you a whole shitload of points. You start coming across guys that are a little harder to take down rather than the goons who pretty much just want to go and punch you in the face or beat you with a big ass lead pipe. You come across motherfuckers with big shock sticks and knives and even machine guns. That's where the battle system gets a lot more hard to go and actually master. We'll say that with the knife wielding guys, for instance, usually they're wearing something that's all red. So you know immediately that when you see them that they're the ones that you want to pick off first, because you can't just go up and start like hitting them like you normally do. They block, so you have to go and use the stun attack, which I didn't even really use up until that point. And once you stun them, they become all dizzy, and then you can start kicking the crap out of them. The guys with the big shock sticks, on the other hand, aren't so easy. You can stun them, but as soon as you hit them, you get hurt. You have to go around back of them and actually hit them, which isn't all that easy to do whenever you've got 5 other guys kicking the living shit out of you. So there's a lot to master overall, but it never ever gets boring whatsoever. The Scarecrow stages are probably one of the coolest features of the game just because there's such a large departure from the rest of the gameplay. You're pretty much in a 2D plane and running along trying to avoid Scarecrow's gaze, which kind of just looks like a big spotlight. He sees you, that's it, you're dead. But it's just really interesting because it looks like a big mindfuck in general, because Batman's hallucinating like shit. And, you know, Scarecrow, he's gigantic, and he actually looks kind of scary in this game, which is kind of cool, because in most of the comics and animated series and stuff, he's kind of shrimpy and skinny, and he's not physically imposing at all. On here, he actually looks like a horror movie monster, which is pretty badass in my opinion. But all around, it's just kind of cool that they added something like that in there, because most game developers would try to shy away from something like that. So I have to say that Arkham Asylum, without a doubt, is probably one of the best games that's come out for this generation of consoles without much fail at all. It all around pretty much nails every single aspect of the Batman stories while delivering really good control, really good gameplay mechanics, gorgeous graphics, and a story that is actually interesting and entertaining to watch unfold. You can't really go wrong right there. Most of the complaints that people have had about it have been very, very minimal. I could really care less about any of the downsides of the game because they're so easily overshadowed. They really go overlooked. The only few that have ever really come to mind are the boss fights. Really aren't all that hard. I expect them to be a little more difficult. Poison Ivy gave me a little more trouble than I thought she would. And the very final battle was a little bit hard at first, but that was really about it. Everything else was pretty much just bam, 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 and moving forward. You know, you really want to see more out of these guys, especially considering that they're supposed to be legendary inmates of the Great Arkham. So I'll conclude this with saying that if you're a fan of Batman, you should already own the game or be in the process of buying the game. If you're a fan of action games, stealth games, if you own a 360 or a PS3, you should be going out and buying this game without a doubt. Or at least just give the demo a try so you can get a brief taste of exactly what I'm talking about and what everybody else has been talking about. Because it's probably one of the better $60 I've ever spent on any of the current games that are out right now. So The fucking Dark Knight, bitch!